What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Chaz. And today I have a really special guest. He's one of my mentors, one of my friends. He's given me amazing opportunities both when I was in college and post grad. He's a husband, a father, best-selling author, and speaker, Jon Gordon. Jon, how are you doing?
Chaz, doing great. And man, when I had you on my podcast, Positive University, you crushed it. We had you on as Chaz the intern. And man, so many people love that podcast. So now it's cool to be on your podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate it. That is still one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. And so I'm super excited to have you on the podcast and working with you and doing that, it was such a great learning experience and I wouldn't be here doing this if it wasn't for that. So, thank you and again, you know how much I appreciate you.
Thanks,
And
brother.
yeah,
Appreciate
of
you.
course. Of course. And so what I really wanted to talk about today was I wanted to look at, your career from a different perspective because I think oftentimes since you're so successful now, we tend to look at what have you been doing, these days, like the past few years in your career. But I really want to look at where you started as far as college and post grad, those few years, essentially where I'm at and where a lot of my audience is at right now. And so if you could share a little bit about what your experience as a Division One athlete, also being in a fraternity, being at a prestigious university, and then the years right after that, and any advice you have for people in those shoes now.
Yeah, I went to Cornell University. I played lacrosse there. I was part of a fraternity, had a great time in college, had a lot of great friends. I was really into doing well though. Like I wasn't a huge partier, although I did go to parties. I wasn't out all the time, although I did go out and have a lot of fun with my friends. I was president of my fraternity, so I was around a bunch of wild and crazy guys. We were all lacrosse players, football players, basketball, hockey. It was like a collection of all these different athletes. And my friends were, yeah, studs, partiers. You would have never known that you were in an Ivy League institution though, because they were like, you know, very normal, wild and crazy. Some guys never even went to class. It was that kind of dynamic. But we're still friends to this day. We still keep in touch. And so I had this, great college experience, but also as an athlete, I struggled. I was benched at times. I had knee injuries, pulled muscles, times I wasn't able to play and frustrated with that. We had to get up at 6 a.m. and practice during the off season. A lot of times that was rough. We went on road trips a lot. I mean, it was just a full life and a busy life, but also like with anything, struggles and challenges. Had a girlfriend in college and had struggles with that. Had times when I was single and had some great times there, but also some struggling times being single. You think the girl likes you and then she doesn't, going through all that kind of stuff. So I had a really just fun, great college experience, but also ups and downs along the way. I wanted to go to law school, didn't do well on my LSATs at all. And then I had a girlfriend my senior year. We met in DC during the summer where I was interning and going to Georgetown taking classes. And we met there. And so we kept in touch all senior year. And I would literally go visit her in San Antonio, all the way from upstate New York, and go see her. And then she came and saw me a couple times. So my senior year, still, when I look back, it wasn't the best because I wasn't immersed as much in what was going on. I was so focused on my girlfriend. And I wish, I look back, that's the one regret I have. I wish I didn't do that. But right after college, I went down to go live near her in Houston and was going to go to law school in Houston in the area. And I drive down there. I take my car down there. My car catches on fire on the way down there. That should have been signed right there, Chaz. This relationship was not going to work out because the car catches on fire. It's done. Like I totaled the car. I can't even drive it because the engine blew up. It was crazy. So I rent a U-Haul and I drive a U-Haul all the way down to Houston from upstate New York. At a gas station, when I was getting gas, somehow, some way, I was driving around the corner and the side of the U-Haul scraped up against the building and literally caused the building to shake. But I didn't even know it because I was just driving. And I'm driving down the road and all these cop cars are coming behind me like a movie, pull me over, pull me over. Do you realize what you did back there? I'm like, no, no, I didn't realize what I did. Like, no, you damaged the building, you caused it to shake. I look at the side of my U-Haul as they made me get out and see, and it was like all scraped on the side. Couldn't believe this happened. Thankfully, I bought the insurance for the U-Haul, so I was able to get that handled with the insurance company. No ticket, thank God. Then make my way down there, and then the challenges continued. Everything just started to fall apart. We were fighting a lot. I'm like, why am I here? I was scared about my future. What am I going to do? How am I going to create my life? I go to the law school. I'm there the first day. I'm like, there's no way I want to go here. I leave. Now I'm looking for a job waiting tables. Again, all my friends went to go work on Wall Street. They're making money. And I just felt like such a failure. And here I am trying to figure out my relationship, and we're fighting. And I go, I got to go home and figure things out. And she said, if you go home, like, we're over. I said, I got to go home. And she broke up with me. Man, I was crazy about her. I drive home and I'm like just crying on my drive home, just like, what am I going to do? It was like a country song. Like, I lost my car, lost my girlfriend, lost everything, don't know what my future holds. And I'm just driving home and crying, trying to figure it out. 20 something hour drive by myself, a lot of it in the dark, which represented in many ways my life. Again, 22 years old, 23, just trying to figure it all out. And I remember stopping at a gas station, and for some reason there was like these CDs on the desk there at the gas station at the register. And one of them was from Les Brown, and he was a motivational speaker. And I'm driving back and I'm listening to Les Brown because I bought the CD. And he's like, you got to live your dreams. You got to live your dreams. You got to be hungry for your future. You got to be hungry. Are you hungry? And I'm like, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm like shouting, I'm hungry while I'm driving. And I thought, hey, maybe I want to do this one day. Lost sight of that, lost sight of the dream. Although at that time I did email Les Brown. Email was just beginning, and sent him an email and said, I want to do what you do. Never heard back, but I sent that email to him. Again, lost sight of the dream, lost sight of the future. I get home. I'm now waiting tables at Houlihan's restaurant near the mall where I grew up, living with my parents. Again, all my friends are making a lot of money, having these great jobs. And now I feel like a total failure, not sure what I'm going to do. And I was at homecoming. And while I'm at homecoming at Cornell, I was asking people where I should move. I want to go create my life. Where should I go? And people were saying either San Francisco or Atlanta. Those were two really upcoming cities at the time for young people. Besides New York, I didn't want to go to New York because I lived in New York. So I went to Atlanta, drove down to Atlanta with a friend from high school, a car, some clothes, and I started waiting tables down there in Atlanta. I applied to Emory to get my master's in teaching. So now I'm getting my master's in teaching. I am working at the restaurant. And as I'm working in this restaurant, I'm thinking, okay, there's got to be a better way to make money than waiting tables, because I'm making like $30 a shift. There's got to be a better way. And I live near Buckhead. I said, I'm going to go to Buckhead, which is a happening spot. All these young people go out there every night. I'm going to try to get a bartending job there. And I'm walking around Buckhead. Long story short, I wind up meeting a guy outside of a bar called Bar, and he offers me a tryout that night to bartend. I have no idea how to bartend. I've never bartended before, but I told him I knew how to bartend. So I go there and literally show up, and I'm making drinks. I have no idea what I'm making. I'm working with a guy named Thad. I said, Thad, what do I do? People are asking for all these drinks. He said, serve it red and serve it with a smile. So I'm literally just pouring stuff in. I'm making things. I'm talking to people. And you had to get up on the bar, and pour shots in people's mouths when the music came on. So now I'm doing that. Now I'm literally I'm on the bar. I'm pouring shots in people's mouths. I'm laughing. I'm cheering. I'm getting people fired up. And at the end of the night, the owners came up to me and they said, it's clear you have no idea what you're doing, but we love your energy and we're going to give you a job. And they gave me a job bartending. And now I'm making every weekend I would work 3 nights, Friday, Saturday, and Thursday, and I'm making like 100 to 200 a night. So now I'm making some cash. This is 1994, right? A long time ago. Chaz, you weren't even alive then, right? So I'm now like I'm making money. I'm getting my master's in teaching. I get into the program at Emory. I'm literally going to class and teaching some days and then working till 4 in the morning at night, bartending, exhausted, but just doing it, going for it. I'm meeting all these young people in Atlanta. I'm moving and I'm shaking. It's fun. I started a nonprofit organization called the Phoenix Organization to raise money and volunteer for youth focused charities because I wanted to do something cool, something meaningful, something that would put me at the center of what was happening in the city. And I do that. I began it with some friends and people start getting involved and interested. And I'm meeting people at the bar and I'm saying, hey, join the Phoenix, come to our meeting. And then I had like a monthly meeting and people started coming to the meetings. And there were all these young people looking to meet other people. So it's like this cool nonprofit organization. It was hip. Then we started having fundraisers where we're raising money for the charities and people are coming to the fundraisers, like big names, we're promoting it. So then I become like this mover and shaker in Atlanta that starts getting connected to all these people in politics and business by doing this Phoenix while I'm bartending, while I'm going to get my master's. And then I wind up opening a bar because I meet someone next door and he turns out to be the owner of the place next door to me where I'm working. And Buckhead was changing that during that time from a restaurant place to a bar place. It was becoming a bar district. And I said to him, hey, would you ever sell this place? Would you ever sell your place? He said, everything's for sale. And I thought, that would make a cool bar because it was a nice restaurant with wood, mahogany wood all over. I'm like, this would be a cool, hip, young pub kind of place with live acoustic music. And I get some investors together. And one was my manager of the bar where I worked. And the other was his brother, who was an accountant. And we joined together. And my grandmother, when she passed away, left me about $30,000. I did not come from money at all. And when I was 18, I took that money when she passed away and put it into mutual funds. So the lesson here is save your money. Save your money for a great investment because you never know when you're going to need it. And I took that money and I put it into that place. And I turned that $30,000 into then $100,000 a year. Now I'm making $100,000 a year at 24 years old, owning this cool bar in Buckhead, and everyone's not coming to this bar. I got the Phoenix Organization, a hip place where we're meeting all these people. And at that point, life is good. Things are really happening. And I feel like I'm striving. I'm making things work. I'm creating something here as I'm just going for it. But I was just so naive in many ways. I thought anything was possible. And that goes to belief. Like there were no limits in my mind. Like anything is possible. Go create the future. Go make it happen. Find some way, getting people involved, encourage people to join whatever you're doing. And that's what I was doing. So I was literally making things happen. So I think another lesson is believe anything is possible. Don't be afraid to ask. I asked Richard Beasley if he would ever sell his place. You got to ask. And then 3 weeks after opening the bar, this woman's walking down the street and she's beautiful. And I'm like, whoa. And for me, it was love at first sight. For her, it took a few years. But in that moment, I asked her to come on in. I was having a party, trying to get some business, but I also wanted to talk to her. And we talked for a little bit. And she goes, I got to go now. I said, all right, come back Friday. I'm having another party. She said, okay, I'll come back Friday. She never came back. A week later, I'm at this charity event, Best of Atlanta charity event. My parents were there visiting. We're walking around and I look over and I see her across the room. And Catherine Carroll, I ran over to her. I'm like, hey, remember me? Remember me? She's like, yeah. She had no interest. She was eating cheesecake. I asked for her card. I said, listen, I don't ever want to be able to not get in touch with you because I don't know if I'm going to ever see you again. So just, you got to give me your card and I'm going to call you. She gave me the card. She goes, okay, see you later. To this day, she said she was talking to a guy and I just walked right up to her and like moved the guy out of the way and just stood right in front of her. I was like zeroed in, Chad. I was at Chaz. I was like dialed in. I'm like, you gotta just get out of my way. But I don't even remember seeing him. I was focused. I knew what I wanted. I kept calling her, kept blowing me off. We had a great conversation. She agreed to go out with me. She kept on canceling. Chad, she said she had to wash her hair. She had to wash her hair one night. Like, too busy. She had to wash her hair. That's what she said. I said, listen, we've agreed to go out a number of times now, and you keep canceling. I said, we either go out tonight or we're never going out. Chaz, you got to play to win. I
Yep.
decided I was going to play to win in that moment. I was going for it. My New Yorkness came out. I'm like, I'm not taking this anymore. Either we go out tonight or we're never going out. And she went out with me that night. Still wasn't like crazy about me, but I went to see her one other time at her house. We had an amazing conversation about God, actually. We talked about God. Now I'm 24 years old. We're talking about God all night on her couch, not hooking up or anything, just talking about God. And after that, like I was like, this is the one for me. I told her that. And we were engaged like 7, 8 months later. And then we now been married 26 years. So really cool journey of owning the bar, meeting her, but never enjoyed the life of a single bar owner, but that's probably a good thing in many ways.
Hmm.
But then got married and we started having kids, Cole, he was second, Jade came first. We had our 2 kids. So now I'm like 27, 28 years old, young father. By the way, I ran for city council of Atlanta. Since I was moving and shaking, making so many connections, I ran for city council, walking door to door to all these houses. Lost the election. Almost won though. But walking to 7,000 houses, like going for it, but lose. But sometimes you have to lose a goal to find your destiny.
Hmm.
And young people listening to this, I failed with a lot of things along the way. Think about it. Like, didn't succeed with the restaurant initially, like didn't succeed waiting tables, get a bartending job. Okay, doing well there, but not living my purpose, getting my master's in teaching, decide not to be a teacher, but I got my master's in teaching, taught for a year of student teaching, did that experience, but now I'm not teaching. I lose a city council election. I go to law school. I drop out after a year and a half of going to law school. So I drop out. I failed with so many things, but I was trying new things and I was going for it along the way. And it was okay to fail. I didn't know what my future held. And I didn't have this incredible plan. I could have never imagined doing what I'm doing now, but I was just going for it. I think so many young people today feel like they have to figure out their life now. They have to know what it is they truly want to be and create. And guess what? There is no straight line to success. Your dream job may not be the job that you actually dreamed about as a kid. So often it's different. I never thought I'd be a writer and speaker doing this work, but losing the city council election, that led to the destiny of now writing and speaking. Because if I would have won, I would have been a city council person, probably would have ran for mayor, Congress, and then would have done all these other things. But that wasn't the destiny for me of what I was meant to do. So I did a lot of things, as you can tell, failed with those things, even dropping out of law school after a year and a half, like, hey, I'm going to go for it. Lose my job after I have these restaurants. I'm now making money with that. Go to law school, drop out. I now join a .com, which is a technology company, to make my fortune. Sort of like what crypto is now, the .com was then. And I'm on this cutting edge company, and I'm one of the first employees. And I have 100,000 shares. So I think I'm going to make a fortune. And then I lose my job. So now I fail again. I lose my job. And then we had just moved to Jacksonville from Atlanta because Catherine wanted to move to the beach. So we had just moved. I lose my job. We have this house. I have a mortgage. I'm 30 years old. We had just moved. So now I'm 30 and everything's falling apart, crumbling. That young mover and shaker who was going for it is now fearful, scared, worried about his wife, worried about his kids, worried about himself, of how he's going to provide for them. And I am crumbling from the inside out. And now my wife threatens to leave me. And I got to change. If I don't change, like, she's gone, and I've got to become more positive. And I remember crying out to God saying, why am I here? What am I born to do? What is my purpose, God? What am I here to do? It's like I had lived a lifetime before that. And in that moment, I was now creating a new beginning for my life. And writing and speaking came to me in that moment. And when I received that download, it was like a download from God, like writing and speaking. I'm like, that's it. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And it took me till I was 30, 31 to figure that out. But I knew right then and there, everything in my past prepared me to now create my future. And that's another lesson. Your failures don't define you, they refine you. Everything in your past will prepare you to create the future that you are meant to create. I wrote a book called The Seed about a 27-year-old who goes on a journey to find his purpose. And it's all these lessons along the way for finding your purpose, living your purpose, and ultimately doing what you're called to do. And the journey that we all go on, I feel like every 20-year-old should read The Seed. But Chaz, that's the story. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And I just think, I've heard so many stories of yours doing work for you, working with you and everything. But it's always so great because I feel like I learn something new each time. And, for the viewer, for the audience, a lot of these people probably hearing it for the first time, or a lot of parts of these stories for the first time. And so much wisdom, so much great advice with that. And what stood out to me, I think at the end of the day, don't be afraid to ask. So you have to be sociable, be confident, personable. And then once you get your foot in that door, like you got your foot in the door at the bar, you didn't know how to bartend. Like I work at a bar now, and I couldn't imagine if I would have walked in and, said that and then just started going with the flow. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask. And then once you get your foot in the door, work your tail off, and then keep doing that, and things will turn out the way they're supposed to. But
Yeah,
yeah.
how many people would say like, "Oh, I can't go bartend. I don't know how to, so I can't try out. I'm
Mhm.
not going for that." The fact that I did would literally change my life because it allowed me to make money every weekend, which allowed me to then go to my grad school to get my degree because my parents weren't paying for it and
Mm.
allowed me to support myself. And it was how I met all these people that allowed me to get the Phoenix going and create all those relationships.
Yep.
So I look back, if I don't ask, it doesn't happen. If I don't ask that woman on the street, she doesn't become my wife. If I don't get her card, like you just got to go for it and ask. I think people are like, well, I got to have it all figured out and I have to make sure that it's supposed to, work this perfect way. And I have to have this perfect setup before I ask this and do this. And I have to be great at this before I can actually start. No, you just have to start. You won't be great at anything in the beginning. Just start and improve along the way. And even when I started writing and speaking, I was not good and I had no idea what to do, but I just started doing it. And Catherine gives me all the credit in the world. She goes, wow, you were speaking when you were horrible. That's what she says to me. I go, well, I don't think I was horrible, but I still wasn't great. But I just was doing it. I think so many people are afraid to fail because
Mm.
they think it does define who they are. But the key is you just got to see it as part of your path of growth to become who you are.
Yeah, I think failure is going to happen along the way. And you and I'm sure we would agree on this too, as both being believers, that we should rejoice in those sufferings and enjoy the hardship, because it's hard to do in the moment, of course. But those failures and those obstacles, if we're able to overcome them, I talk about this on my podcast all the time, success being a long-term thing and not being linear. Success isn't this, it's a lot of these, but continually going up.
A lot
And
of
if,
roller coaster rides. Yep.
exactly, yep, it's a roller coaster. And if you can rebound from those lows, you can keep going up. It's the problem is when you take those low points and you don't go back up. You let those destroy you, and if you do that, that's when you have a problem. But if you take those obstacles and then ride the roller coaster back up, then you're fine, and you keep making progress. But yeah, I think that we have to keep those failures and everything, those obstacles in mind, and know that they're going to come, so that we can rebound and we can attack them and we can overcome them. But as we wrap this up, where can people contact you? Where can we find you? And what do you have up next for you? Any books, talks? What's big on the schedule for you?
Well, what's big right now is the one truth. And I think everyone of your generation should be reading the one truth because it's the
Mhm.
answer to winning the battle of your mind. As you know, so many people are struggling with fear and anxiety and stress and overthinking. Chaz, we've talked about this before. Like, isn't it interesting how overthinking is always associated with negative thoughts? We
Mhm.
never say I have too many positive thoughts, too much gratitude, too much goodness, too much hope, too much belief. We never say that. Why is overthinking always associated with negative thinking? It's because those negative thoughts create clutter. Those negative thoughts lower your state of mind. The battle is positive versus negative. Everything comes down to positivity and negativity in this world. And every hero in every major epic movie has to overcome the villains and negativity along the way. And how do they do it? With positivity. So the one truth really explains oneness and separateness, and how the more connected and one we are, the more powerful we are, the more courage we have, the more confidence we have, the more we feel separate and disconnected, the more we feel weak and powerless. And all mental health disorders report feelings of isolation and disconnection and being alone and separated. And so the more you feel disconnected, the more negative you're going to be. And as you look at your generation, you might be more connected than ever socially on the media standpoint, on social media technology, but you feel in many ways more disconnected than ever. So the key is to really connect with others, to connect with your purpose, to connect spiritually with God, because you were never meant to be separate from God. You were created for connection. And
Mm-hmm.
so the mental health disorder standpoint shows you that as you move away from oneness to separateness, all mental health disorders and depressed people feel that isolation and disconnection. And we even have terms like bipolar or schizophrenia. Schizo means split mind, separation. And the root for the Greek word of anxious means to separate and divide. And so when you feel anxious, you feel separate and divided. All this is pointing to the fact that there's this force trying to divide and separate you, which weakens you and makes you feel powerless. So the one truth is why I want everyone to read it, because I want to give people the understanding that they can create their life, that they can have a high state of mind, that they can have the confidence and courage, they can have the power and the peace. And the way they do that is by connecting instead of feeling disconnected. And that gives them strength and that gives them power. So the one truth is what I'm really big on. Hope everyone reads it. Just go to getonetruth.com, Also, there's the audiobook as well. If you're just not into reading books, you can listen to the audio while you're driving. And I truly hope people will benefit from that. And yeah, people can reach out to me at jongordon.com or Instagram, Twitter at JONGordon11. But Chaz, I just want to give you kudos because you're going for it. Like, you're a great example. You're bar backing. And you might have friends going, wow, he went to Clemson. He's got a college degree and he's bar backing. Like, what's up with Chaz? But you're going after your dream. And that famous actor was a waiter. That famous successful movie producer worked in Hollywood as a gopher and did all these different things. Like, you got to start somewhere. So to the outside, they see where you are. And they're like, what's going on? And my friends did the same thing with me, by the way. Oh, man, he's bartending. Oh, John is, man, yeah, he's working in a restaurant. Yeah, he owns a bar now. He's in the bar business. Isn't that hilarious? Oh, yeah, he's ran for city council when he lost. But they don't see what God sees. God sees what you're becoming. God's like, man, this is Chaz's plan. This is what he's creating. This is what he's building. And you don't see it now, but 10 years from now, you'll look back and go, oh, that's what he was creating. That's what he was building. That's what made sense. And other people can't see it. The naysayers can't see it. That's why you got to see it. And you got to keep moving forward towards the vision and the purpose and the mission. And that's what I love about you, Chaz. You're going for it. You're being bold. You're moving forward with faith. You're doing this podcast. You're making it happen. And you know what? Maybe the podcast doesn't become a huge thing. Maybe you have a total different direction. You'll never regret, though, this time of going for it. Because while you're going for it, if something else is meant to come your way, it will come your way, because you got to trust. And when you trust in God, it's amazing how he shows up and shows you that he can be trusted. So often we're like, God, show me and I'll trust you. And God's like, no, trust me and I'll show you. And the more we try to be God, it's because we don't trust in God. So because we don't trust in God, we try to be God. And you know what that does? That separates you from God. So you feel more and more separate. That's why people feel disconnected from God, are so miserable and negative and complaining a lot and feeling so separate, because they are not connected to God. The more you trust in God, you connect in God, you connect to God. And then you realize in his power, his strength, you get everything you need, and you get the wisdom and the guidance and the healing that gives you the power, the peace, and the purpose to now go and create your life. And that's been my journey. I've lived it. I've experienced it. I felt the separation. I feel the connection now more than ever, and I'm more confident than ever. Yeah, I'm 52 years old. I'm a lot older now, but I'm a lot wiser. I'm a lot stronger, and I'm a lot better. And it's okay to be on this journey wherever you are. Don't beat yourself up where you are. You have a vision, and you stay optimistic, and you be faithful about where you're going. So thanks, Chaz. Thanks for allowing me to share. And man, I can't wait to share this with others because I'm glad we're talking about this because the younger generation, I have a heart for them. I know the challenges they're faced. There's more negativity than ever, and they are struggling more than ever. And it's because of all the outside influences coming at them. And I just want to say, you live inside out. You take the inside out power that you have within you and you create the world outside of you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, John. As I said in the beginning too, when we started the podcast, you've been an amazing mentor and friend of mine, and I'm so excited to share this podcast as well. I think it's gonna do a lot of great for the world, and yeah, I can't wait for everyone to listen to it. And you're always welcome on the podcast if you want to do a part two. And yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time, and yeah, hopefully I see you soon. I feel like you're everywhere, so yeah,
Definitely.
hopefully we can do a in-person podcast or something.
I like it. Yeah. Well, you know where I live. So come on over anytime. Come see Cole. Cole's becoming a big golfer now. He's got a great game going with golf. Hard to believe, but he's never liked golf and now he's crushing it. So yeah, come hang out and we'll go play some golf.
Right on. Let's do it. All right, thanks, John.
Thanks, Chaz. Appreciate you, brother. Great job.
Yep, thank you.